Welcome to Winning Retirement TV. I'm Kristen Taylor with Greg Taylor of Legacy Retirement Group. Today, we are talking about the big retirement questions.
The big questions,
right? The things people want to know, right? That they want to know.
For sure.
So first, we're going to start with a little fun fact, and I promise it ties in. But the first webcam was invented in 1993. It focused on watching a coffee pot because Cambridge researchers didn't want to waste trips to the pot. So we don't have a webcam in our office, although sometimes I think it would be funny because the staff, so in our office, we have walking pads at all the desks. So
like little treadmills.
They're like little treadmills. So one of our staff members wanted to get one. I said, that's fine. Then they all wanted to get one. So I think we have 6 or 7 of them in the office now. And every so often, you'll see people barefoot. So they'd rather walk on the treadmills barefoot than in heels.
And they wear their Apple Watch on their ankle.
They do. They wear their Apple Watch on their ankle. So if we had a webcam, it would be funny seeing them all pitter-pat around in their bare feet, trying to run to get their shoes when someone comes in, right? That's a little insight being a fly on the wall in our office. But we don't have a webcam, but right in the middle of our office, we have a studio where we do our radio show, Winning Retirement Radio, but we also do our podcast there.
Yes.
And we have a video set up, and that's all available on YouTube. And do you know what our handle is for YouTube? Do you know what a handle is?
Yeah. Or, no, this one doesn't have a handle. I'm sorry. No, but
it's
yes.
Winning Retirement.
Yes.
Winning Retirement, just like our show. So that's a little fun fact about us. So how are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome.
Good. I haven't asked you yet.
I get to be with you.
Oh, that's sweet. So our first retirement big question is, if someone is 73 or about to turn 73, what do they need to know about RMDs?
Well, first of all, they're required.
Well, what is an RMD?
And they're minimum.
Right?
And they're a withdrawal. So actually, an RMD, required minimum distribution, that comes from a qualified plan or an individual retirement account. So what is a qualified plan? Well, it is an employer plan that is tax qualified, meaning that it is tax deferred,
right?
Deferring the tax till later. And that could be a 401k, it could be a 403b, a 457 deferred compensation plan, a TSP. And I take that back, a qualified plan could actually be a Roth, because they do have Roth 401ks, Roth deferred compensation plans, but it's an employer plan that is tax qualified. Okay, so that's that, and then there's IRAs. So at age 73, it's time to start thinking about, or actually you should have started thinking about this way before, but it's time to take required minimum distributions.
Right?
Yes. Now, if for some reason in that year in which you turn 73, you're going to have some massive income increase. Maybe you get a big bonus, maybe you sold a rental property, maybe you cashed in some capital gains. There's, could be a number of reasons, or maybe you're going to retire that year and the next year income's going to be much lower. Well, you do have the option one time to delay it until April 1st of the year in which you turn 74.
But you'll still have 2 to take now that year.
Yes.
So there's some math you have to do for this.
Exactly. So you have to take 2. But so if you don't take it in time that first year, then you have to take it by April 1st the following year, and then you have to take 2 in that year. Now, so that's when it's time to start. And for those that are a little younger, and I believe it's 2033, the age goes up to age 75 for required minimum distributions.
But this is something that's a point of contention, I think, a lot of times with the families we meet with. I feel like a lot of times people aren't excited to take the RMDs. It's like a dreaded occurrence. They don't want the extra income because they're going to have to pay tax.
Well, think about it. Through all our life, we kind of push back against things that are required.
We don't want to be told to do it.
Our teenagers, yes. I mean, if we tell them it's their idea, they want to do it. Oh. If it's our idea, they don't.
You said that, and I instantly thought about Christian's mustache.
Yes.
So we talk about our kids on the show all the time. And my son, Christian, who just went off to college, we just dropped him off this fall, and he decided over the summer he was going to grow a mustache.
Yes.
And all summer we tried to be friendly about it, didn't we?
We did.
Right. We would say, oh, what do you...
We call him Pierre and, all these other things.
We wanted him to get rid of that mustache so bad. And Greg's like, if we tell him to get rid of it, he absolutely will not want to get rid of it. So we have to be calm about it, make it like it's no big deal. Finally, by the end of the summer, all the staff at the office, because they're all moms, all the girls at our office, Brent says he doesn't care, but all the girls at our office, all the ladies, they're like, Christian has got to go, right? So he finally shaved it.
Yes,
but he didn't want to be told.
No,
just like people don't want to be told they have to take withdrawals.
So it's required and it's a minimum distribution. Okay, now, how's it calculated? Well, it's calculated on our previous year, so December 31st at the end of business that day.
Right.
That's the value they use to determine it for the following year. So it's the previous year's December 31st day in value. That's the number they calculate. And then there's a chart. Lifetime uniform table is what most people are under. So at age 73, the life expectancy there is 26 and a half years. At least that's the divisor they use at age 73. So to divide that December 31st value by 26.5 rather, and that'll be the percentage, and it's a little under 4% that they have to take, like 3.65%, somewhere around that. They have to take that first year. Now, by the time you're 80 or 81, you're now taking about 5% out. Mm-hmm. If you live to be 93 or 94, you're taking about 10% out. So it starts to get quite a bit larger in percentage as you get older.
I think it's important to point out that you can, with IRAs, you can aggregate the amount across other IRA accounts. You can take your RMD based on, your total amount from one, whereas you can't
Correct.
do that on 401k accounts. You have to do it separately.
Correct. In fact, one of our clients, I just had a conversation with them last week. He's getting $50,000 a year from his lifetime annuity that's providing that protected income for him and his family, he and his family. And so that has a value that's in it. And now the $50,000 is much higher than what would have been required. Mm-hmm. So he's like, can that count towards my other qualified money towards the RMD? I said, yes. But I said, I remember that you kept part of your money in a 401k. He said, yes. I said, well, that money that's in the 401k has to all come out separately. Mm-hmm. I said, now, you could keep it in the same exact investments, move it into an IRA, and then you wouldn't have to take as much out as a required distribution on the money that's in the 401k. Because IRAs, you can take across multiple. So if you have 5 or 6 IRAs, individual retirement
mm-hmm. accounts,
you can take it out of 1 or 2 or however many you want to.
Right, 403Bs as well, but you can't mix between a 403B and an
Correct.
IRA.
So if you have a 403B, a 457 deferred comp, and a 401k, you have to take it separately out of each and every one. Mm-hmm. Even if you have 4 old 401ks, you have to take out of each and every one. So you can simplify it simply by rolling those together into an IRA, and it makes it much easier to calculate and figure out.
That's good.
Yeah.
For our viewers at home, the RMD report, I think, is the best way to get a feel for what your actual dollar amount's going to be. You don't need to sit down with a bunch of calculators. We've made it really easy on our website, testmyretirement.com. You're able to go in, click Learn More, put in a few pieces of information, and go down the list, and you're given a report, and that report will give you your possible tax liability in retirement, but you're also able to see the numbers. You're able to really know what your RMDs are going to be throughout your retirement years. So you're able to go to our website, testmyretirement.com, or call our office and request a report at 614-336-7660. We'll be right back after this short commercial break.
Have you been wondering if a Roth conversion is a good idea? Do you feel a lack of confidence in Washington when it comes to future taxes during your retirement years? You should probably visit testmyretirement.com. It's Legacy Retirement Group's latest no-cost resource for soon-to-be and current retirees. TestMyRetirement.com is super simple to navigate. After clicking on Learn More, you'll fill in a few pieces of information, and within 30 seconds, you'll see a personalized analysis of your total potential taxes in retirement using your existing approach, compared to what's possible with some adjustments. Every situation is different, but if you don't want to be in debt to Uncle Sam, Go to testmyretirement.com to find out if you can possibly reduce your future retirement obligations. Get started now at testmyretirement.com.
Welcome back to Winning Retirement TV. I'm Kristen Taylor, and today we're talking all about the big questions in retirement. So, Greg, let's assume, well, let's just say a lot of times we talk about annuities on the show, and I think they get confusing for some people. Some people really don't understand the different types.
Right.
And we might get into that. But my main question is, if someone purchased a $300,000 annuity, what would that look like by way of years for payout options? A lot of times we talk about annuities for income on the show.
Yeah. So first of all, let's just get this out of the way here, and that is there's so many different annuity types and options. There's variable, there's fixed index, there's fixed, there's immediate. There's all these different types, and it really ranges on what it is people are trying to achieve. But in general, in a deferred annuity, you have three options for how you take money. One, you could just take what we would call a partial withdrawal. In other words, you could just take maybe out of $300,000, maybe you take $10,000 a year out. Okay? So you could do that. Or you could take it out monthly. You could say, maybe I want $800 a month or whatever. You can do something called annuitize. Now, the best way to explain annuitizing is like when you choose your company pension option. If you have a lump sum option, or if you take the monthly annuity that they provide, if you take the monthly annuity, that's annuitizing. That gives you an income for life, but when you pass away, there's not a lump sum paid to a beneficiary. Okay. So that's important to know. So we can take partial withdrawals, we can annuitize, or what we prefer is what are called guaranteed lifetime withdrawal benefits, or they're also referred to as income riders. Now, there is a fee typically for income riders. It can range anywhere from 0.75% to about 1.3% per year. It just depends on the company and so on. But the thing to understand with that is you have income that is protected for your lifetime. And if you're married, it can also be protected for your spouse's lifetime. So you know that the income you have coming in is going to last as long as you live.
That provides a known in the retirement equation, I feel like.
It does. It really does. And that can be very, very important for our mental well-being as the markets go up and they go down. Having, one of our core principles in our practice is protect your income, grow the rest. Because your income is where you live. It's how you pay your bills. It's how you do the fun things. It's how you travel. It's how you spoil the grandkids. It's how you live your lifestyle. And so we believe your lifestyle should be protected. Now, with that, you can potentially get additional benefits than just a lifetime income. And that is what we call ADL doublers, meaning that if you can't perform 2 out of 6 of your activities of daily living, that's bathing, dressing, transferring, getting out of a bed or a chair, or meal preparation and cleanup, or medication management, and so on. If you can't perform 2 out of 6, then you can qualify in many cases for that income to double for up to 5 years. Right now, we have 3 families currently using that benefit. And it's a big deal because in many cases, that's the only way they're able to keep their loved one at home, rather than having to be forced to put them in a nursing home and start spending down the assets. So that's a big, big deal. That's something there. So not all annuities offer that, but many do, and that can be a great resource for families. And whatever is left when you pass away goes to beneficiaries. It's not lost. It's not like annuitizing, which we sometimes call annuicide. Right. Because once you do it, you can't change it. Right. Okay. So that's a big deal. Now, as an example, I had our team, our income team, run some examples. So here's one for someone, a single person, age 65. Okay. So single person, age 65. And in this case, we're going to take income immedially, right in the first year. Okay.
And this is in the fall of 2025. So,
correct.
Current rates.
So with the number one company, who's an A+ rated company, that $300,000 would provide $23,100 per year of protected income.
Wow.
Okay, so that's the number one. That's the one that comes out best. Now, number 10 on the list, and we asked for the top 10, another A+ rated company, so another good company, would provide $21,780 per year. So that's about $1,400 a year less of protected income that they wouldn't get if they took the number 10 company versus the number 1 company. So for us, what we look at is, okay, are they a good company?
Mm-hmm.
Do they have similar benefits, such as the ADL doubler?
Right.
What is the cost of their benefit, and how much income will they provide? So what people need to realize, it's not a one-size-fits-all. And what's really interesting, when I ran a separate illustration for a couple, age 63 and 62, for joint income, and they're going to turn on the income after 2 years. So in this case, let's say they're not going to retire for 2 years. Now, the company that was number 10 on the list for a single taking income immediately is now number 1 on the list for this couple.
And that's why we use income illustrators. We have a whole team behind the scenes that's helping
Exactly.
sift through the different options that are out there.
So it's kind of like anything else. You know, should I buy an annuity? Some people will tell you never do that. I think sometimes those people may have, you know, a reason that, that's beneficial to them to tell people that.
You have to know what you're getting it for, and that it's actually meeting that goal. Because real quick, I mean, I remember one of our dear clients who's become a really good friend of mine. We go to lunch every once in a while.
Yes.
I met her for lunch this summer, and we caught up, and it got me thinking of when she first became a client. And I've given examples of her story in other ways before, but I don't think I've ever shared this. She came in with 12 annuities, wasn't it?
Yes.
And we did a x-ray on them. We looked through them, and she said, I've gone to other advisors. They're suggesting that I should replace these. I'm needing I think it was about $40,000 in income she needed. And so as I'm going down the list, of course, Greg gave me this one to look at because it was so complicated. He didn't want to look through all these, right?
Too complicated for me, so I had to go to you.
I looked through them all, and I'm adding up, I've got my calculator, I'm adding up all the income that's going to come from these. And I said, you do realize these are older. These are when income riders didn't cost anything, which they do. Now they're around 1%, sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less, but about 1%. And I said, you're not paying for these income riders. So I'm adding it all up, and I think it worked out to be just over the $40,000 she needed from the income on these. I said, well, if you want to simplify it, you can most certainly replace it. But this is going to provide everything you need. There's really no reason to change them. All we have to do is a little bit of paperwork for each of them to turn on the riders.
Yes, and she made you the
agent of record,
the advisor of record, so that you could help her with those. But
she looked at me and she said, well, Kristen, I don't know why, if all my income's here, why would they change it? I said, well, I don't know. I don't know the story behind it, but, they earn a commission by selling you a new annuity. I won't earn a commission by being your agent, but I don't mind doing it. It's just a few minutes of paperwork. Right. So sometimes you just have to be aware of what the reasoning behind changing things are, but really looking to get that annuity x-ray, right?
Well, it's in our office, we have that fiduciary standard. So doing what's in someone else's best interest, I think, is something that every advisor should always think of. But that's something we take very seriously in our office, is that we want to make sure that people are getting what they actually need. And that's so important. No matter who you're seeking advice from, test what they're telling you to do against what you feel is in your best interest to see if it really lines up.
Well, you can call our office today at 614-336-7660 to look at getting that annuity x-ray I was talking about. Let us take a look at what you have, make sure that it matches up with the goals you have for those dollars. And you're able to also go on our website, legacyretirementgroup.com, and click Schedule Now from the comfort of your own home. Again, that's 614-336-7660. We'll be right back after this short commercial break.
The work never seems to end until the day it finally does. After nearly a lifetime on the job, you should be rewarded for all the time you spent working. Whether that's crossing off items on your bucket list, learning a new passion, or rekindling the love of an old one. After all, life isn't over when you stop working. It's the start of an all-new chapter, the one where you're the writer and you get to choose how your story will go. A way to achieve that is by having a clear financial plan to sustain your golden years. The biggest fear most retirees have is if they'll have enough money to maintain the lifestyle they've always enjoyed. Having a plan to help protect you against the curveballs life often throws will help to maintain your lifestyle. Call today to get your free written financial plan so you may live every day to the fullest and enjoy the retirement of your dreams.
Welcome back to Winning Retirement TV. I'm Kristen Taylor, and today we are talking all about the big retirement questions. So Social Security, that's a big one, don't you think?
It is.
Social Security. So it's a hot topic with retirees, whether you have plenty of money saved or not. It's money that you're entitled to getting at a certain age. But the question is always, do I take it early at 62? Do I take it at 67? Or do I wait all the way to 70 to maximize my dollars? You know, what do you think, Greg?
Remember when we used to do that class?
Yes.
And we had
I
the
thought it
three
was so
brothers.
cheesy. First of all, I'm going to say this before he talks. I think this is really cheesy. So I'm just giving that disclaimer. Cover your ears if you don't want to hear something that's
All right,
cheesy.
Cheddar or provolone?
Oh my. Go ahead with your dad cheesiness.
Yes,
Let's go.
all right.
Yeah.
I resemble that comment. Yes. All right. So we had three brothers,
Okay.
Earl,
Ha
Stan,
ha.
and Dell.
Early, standard, and delayed. Ha ha ha.
Yes. So which is best?
Right.
I mean, now it's really interesting. Everyone's situation is so unique and so different. They're
It is.
dynamic, and their family is unique and different. But in general, what we found is that when people have stopped working completely, where they're not going to make over the $23,000 per year if they take it early, that could
Right.
cause them to have to pay Social Security payments back and wait to get it back again later. So rather than that, and that can be very, very complicated. We suggest people take their Social Security when they stop working so that they're not spending down their assets.
Right.
So that's a generalized answer.
Well, and I think I'm going to segue a little bit here and say, you know, we haven't talked about this on the show in a while, but,
Right.
you know, we really believe that there should be compartments of money, right? Or buckets, if you will.
Mhm.
You should have money set aside for wants, needs, and emergencies. We should have money set aside for income, and we should have money set aside for investments.
Right,
So as
for
we look
long-term
at
growth,
that for
right.
long-term growth, so when we look at our Social Security, that's income coming in,
Right.
and making sure it fits within those different compartments is really important.
Sure, because in most families, Kristen, Social Security is really a foundational part
Yeah.
of their overall income strategy. I find very few families of the several hundred families that we work with, there's maybe a handful that live on Social Security
Right.
alone, you know.
But it is the start to the money that you have coming in.
It is. It's the
for
foundation.
retirement.
It really is.
Right.
And so making the correct decision on that is crucial.
Mhm.
It really is. Because we have families that are getting $80,000 to $90,000 a year combined between the husband and wife for Social Security. I mean, because they had high income jobs and they're maxing out their Social Security benefits. So that can be huge. That can be huge. But it's really finding out what the real need is as part of the income plan. So factors to consider, though, when you're thinking about when to take your Social Security is longevity. I just met with a family in the last 6 months where the guy's like, none of my siblings live past 75.
Hmm.
So when I retired, I was the baby. He said, he's like, when I retired, I was determined I was going to take it as soon as I could, so I could have, make sure I get it for a while.
Right.
And of course, we had a great talk about health and fitness and, doing your best with what you have and all those things to try to, turn that clock back a little bit.
Right.
It's something I've been working
Your
on for a few
metabolic
years.
age, right?
Your metabolic age.
Mine's
That's a
currently
mouthful.
3 years younger than I am.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know what mine is, but probably like 15 or 20 years younger than
Oh,
me.
sure.
I don't know. We're always in competition with one
We
another. So your health, whether or not you're still working, that's a factor. Need versus strategy. I've had so many people come in and say, I'm going to delay till I'm 70. And we start doing the math and I'm like, you can't delay till you're 70. You're going to be broke by the time you take it. And they look at the math and they're saying, you're right.
And then there's no money left for growth. I mean, that's what I was getting at earlier. Yeah.
And then spousal benefits. And this is something a lot of people don't understand when they come in and we do their income plan. I just did this about 3 or 4 weeks ago. I've got my income software up, and I'm showing them where their income's going to be. This is going to start here. This is going to start there. This is going to start there. And the wife's going to retire in 3 years. And I said, okay, you haven't worked for very long. You just started working after the kids are out of college and things like that. And so more than likely, your Social Security will be half of your husband's. Mm-hmm. She was like, oh, you mean I can get that instead of what my report says? And I said, yes. And so instead of getting like $800 a month, she's going to get $1,700 a month. Mm-hmm. And she had no idea.
Well, and I think, she would have figured it out eventually, right?
She would.
But the important point here, that's a tongue twister, is that you can use that information now to be armed to make good decisions as you're planning your retirement, right?
And we don't want people making costly mistakes with something so important. Mm-hmm. So as we meet and we go over the goals and everything, we need to know everything, unfortunately, or fortunately. But as we do, we're now able to have a written income plan that makes sense for them, that really accomplishes their goals. It gives them confidence. It does everything that people need so that they're actually ready to retire. This is a key part. Like, it's hard sometimes for people to actually pull the trigger and retire.
It is.
To change, their
identity.
social life,
change
their identity.
Changes.
Really reinventing themselves. The last thing they need to worry about is how they're going to pay their bills.
Well, and I think the conversation is so wrapped around our complete planning review that happens.
It is.
And the written financial plan.
It is.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah, because our complete planning review encompasses the 5 key areas of retirement. So that's your investment strategy. That's your income plan. That is your tax plan. And by the way, you should have a tax plan, a strategy there. Your healthcare plan. How are you going to pay those healthcare bills when they come someday, besides just your doctor and hospital stuff? And then your legacy plan, making sure that whatever you leave behind goes to those you love as efficient as possible. 614-336-7660 to claim your spot to get your complete planning review.
You heard them. Thanks so much. Or heard him, not them. I'm naming you them, for visiting us today on Winning Retirement TV. Be safe, be happy, be blessed, and join us again next week.